This video is sponsored by Virtual Gladiators. Virtual Gladiators have everything you need to make your very own Minecraft or Hytale server. Click the link in the description to find out more.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Hycast, the premier Hytale podcast. I'm your host Fezzy, and today we're joined by Jim from Stolendale. Welcome to the podcast. We're glad to have you with us today.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm fine.
Cool. So,
Thank you for having me.
of course. So, we're just going to hop right into this as usual. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you see yourself in the Hytale community?
Oh, well, I sure can. Well, for once, I joined the Hytale hype train, as I call it, back around March. Yeah, I know I'm a bit late, but don't judge me, okay? I was busy. And around a month later, I joined Stolendale. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything about the Hytale past of me. I used to run some other Minecraft projects and businesses, but...
Oh, cool. So, we'll get into Stolendale plenty pretty soon here, but we're going to hop into the Hytale server side of things. A lot of Hytale communities, including the developers of Hytale themselves, have some form of background origin in Minecraft. Do you expect running a server in Hytale will be similar as to what it is in Minecraft, or do you think it's going to be a completely different experience?
Okay, well, I really hope it's similar to Minecraft, but as far as I'm concerned, there might be some slight differences with how Minecraft works, but I'm pretty confident that it will use the same format for the actual configurations.
Just for the sake of familiarity.
Yeah, we also know that they're going to be using JSON very, very widely, so that gives us a great insight on how we can actually modify our own configurations. So that's great. I love JSON. I hate it, but I love it. You know, it's really hard to understand, but once you get through the concept of it, it's great. You can do many different stuff.
Yeah. A lot of what we've been told points towards Hytale being either very similar, if not easier to run, than Minecraft. Do you expect server hosting for Hytale to be cheaper, about the same, or more expensive than Minecraft server hosting?
I'm not sure if Hytale has announced whether they will be running on... I mean, the servers are running on Java, which is like, okay, it's decent for the... it's decent for the performance, but I'm not sure. I believe that it will be around the same price point, considering the fact that most of Hytale players and businesses come from Minecraft. So
that's fair.
Yeah, you know.
You'd want to make it accessible to everybody, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Overall, the customization of Hytale far exceeds anything Minecraft has to offer, at least that we know of so far. How do you expect this to affect servers? Will there be any changes in what they prioritize or how they do anything? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, certainly. Well, with Minecraft right now, we have many different problems with the actual performance on the servers. And I think that with how Hytale is constructed and how it's laid out on the backend, it will be easier for the server administrators to actually figure out a way to make to have less servers hold more players. So I guess the main priority after that, I mean, that was the main priority for all the server owners right now. The second priority after having the performance fixed would be the customizability. I think it's going to be vastly easier than any other than Minecraft or any other game like Roblox, for instance. That's
fair. And so, transitioning here, we're going to move into the December progress update because that recently came out. The developers of Hytale have released a new blog following up the quadruple blog post back in November. What are your thoughts on the blog? Do you believe Hytale will now go back to releasing more blogs frequently like they did before, or what do you think they're going to do?
I'm not sure. That's a very fine line between having many different blog posts than having one per month. I think that it would be ideal to have 1 or 2 blog posts per month, but not having every blog on every single week, because that will really put a workload on them, which I think no one in the community wants them to have in order to continue the progress of the game and making that faster. So yeah, I hope they do update us more, and that there are no other gaps in the middle, but I don't want them to be like, hey, here are like 5 blog posts in 5 weeks. No.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. You don't want to have anything spoiled. You want to find like a healthy middle ground in between, like
Yeah,
not
exactly.
spoiling anything and having like no blog posts, basically, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So one of the focus points of the blog was the objective system that will be customizable and built in feature of Hytale. How do you expect this feature to be utilized by the community?
Oh, it's greatly it's going to be used vastly and greatly from every server, either that being a faction server, either that being an MMORPG server. I think that most of the players in the Hytale community are achievers, and they kind of like bragging about their achievements and their newly acquired items. So I think that it was a very fair choice to have an objective system onto the software and the server software.
Okay. Another interesting point of the blog post is the series of changes to adventure modes structure. Do you think the new approach, which allows you to start in any of the first 3 zones, will be a good feature within Hytale?
Probably not in the adventure mode, but I guess I'm not sure if there is a creative mode. I'm not sure I haven't really kept up with any of the blogs lately. I'm sorry for that. I know I'm a terrible person. Not in the adventure mode, I wouldn't do that. I would probably go to the creative mode and have them like go wherever you want. But I'm not sure how the storyline goes behind the first 3 zones, so as long as it's coexisting, I guess it's fine.
That makes a lot of sense. The way that I personally would see it is like, say, for example, in Minecraft, you can set up custom generation for worlds. If you wanted to do something like that, like you said, for creative mode, I think that'd be great. But it is important to keep the story going. More on that. Do you think it would be possible to create a mod that lets you spawn in Zone 6 or another dimension?
Yeah, I think it could be possible. It would actually be very, very simple to do it, I guess, because your progress would be saved on a file which had that value on. I guess you could change that with like a pretty simple script. But I hope it's possible, yeah.
Okay, so let's hop into Stolendale. You mentioned that you are the project lead for Stolendale, which started as a card-based role-playing experience for Hytale. Could you explain what Stolendale is all about for those who have never heard about it before?
Okay, great. So, Stolendale, if you have ever played on Hypixel, you probably have seen a game called Warlords. It's pretty much that, but instead of having actual spells, you get to use your own cards, which you would basically have either bought from a physical shop like Amazon or Walmart or anything like that, or you would have acquired in-game by killing mobs, bosses, etc. So this the card-based role-playing experience is basically spells in-game. Call them cards because in the physical gameplay, these are cards. Now, I know that I mentioned physical and virtual gameplay. I know it's confusing for some people, but the Stolendale structure is that we have 2 different game modes. The virtual gameplay is similar to Warlords, but with inspiration from other games. It's an MMORPG experience. While the physical gameplay, the board game, is similar to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering, but we have our own twists and mechanics in it. So the 2 worlds are interlinked with many other different mechanics, and you can export or import cards that you have bought or acquired in game.
Okay, so very cool. So I'm guessing kind of the physical cards and the virtual server are going to work together in some way.
Yeah, pretty much. Whenever you get a card back from your local store, there would be a QR code which you could scan with your mobile, and you could have every single of your card that you unlocked from that card pack to your Hytale server. And if the cards are marked are duplicate, you can also level up your cards.
Very cool.
Automatically leveled up. Yeah, that's a concept.
Oh, well, that's a pretty cool concept. I'd be interested to see how that turns out, because it could be it'll be very original, I think, for Hytale, because a lot of servers are going to be taking kind of what Minecraft has done and just kind of improving on that with a lot of like minigame servers and stuff like that. So this sounds like something totally new. I'm very excited to see where it goes. So what are the biggest challenges that you have encountered when integrating physical and virtual elements? And do you believe it was worth the time and effort to do so up to this point?
Right. So the physical and virtual elements are completely different. For instance, and there are many different factors that we have to take into consideration whenever we transferring physical and virtual cards. For instance, can a card which, let's say, heals a player be transported and transferred to a physical gameplay? Yes, it can. But I had an example where you couldn't really have what the card was doing in game transferred to the actual physical gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really challenging time for us when we had to do that. We had to figure out what each card does in the physical and the virtual gameplay. But all in all, they're doing something similar, but some cards are doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of a balance kind of thing.
Right, because we can't really have, let's say, we can have a card flying over and damage, so it just have to do damage,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Right.
Very
yeah.
cool. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because I can definitely see how it would get pretty confusing, because in game and the real life, the thing is with the real life cards, you can kind of do whatever you want with, but Hytale's limited to Hytale, and you kind of have to make compromises for the game and make it balanced for other players. So I 100% get that.
The biggest challenge is actually having to it's the balancing, because once a card is printed, you cannot change it.
Yeah. Yep.
That's another very important issue that we are facing right now.
Yeah, that's fair. So moving on, we were originally when we spoke to you about airing on Hycast, you said you would like to make an announcement regarding Stolendale. What news do you have for us? What has been going on behind the scenes?
Okay, great. That actually happened just right now, 30 minutes before we started the recording. We knew it was going to happen, but we didn't know the time, so that's great. Tomorrow, like on the 25th of Christmas, Stolendale it's turning 1 year old. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that we just announced a partnership with a publisher, and we're going to be publishing our card game locally in Greece. So that's
cool.
actually the announcement. Yeah, we are publishing our first 30 cards in the Greek market, and we will firstly learn some playtests with YouTubers and experts in the field of card games, like some try-hard, burnt-out Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! Card players. And after that, after we get their feedback, we will be starting to launch the game globally.
Wow, very cool.
So
sounds like you guys are making a lot of progress.
We have, yeah, and we're only a small team of right now. We're like 10, 12 volunteers. We're only 5 of us are active, so that's great.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Definitely good on you guys. That sounds like you're really getting somewhere. So you mentioned you're with a publisher now. Could you tell us a little bit about what caused all these changes and what the backstory is behind Stolendale partnering with Tenebra Studios?
Yeah, so we were owned by How Interactive, which was the company behind Stolendale, and the one that actually hired me to be the project lead for Stolendale, which unfortunately decided to drop the project due to corporate pivot and shift of interest, which was sad at times. A lot of us lost motivation, but I actually got the project. I saved it from its ashes, and we are now partnering with Tenebra Studios and actually publishing the game, as I mentioned.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like it was a good move. How do you expect this development to affect your plans for Stolendale? What changes can we expect to see as a result of the new partnership? I assume, of course, publishing. But is there anything else?
Yeah, right now we are postponing our Hytale development team. Non development, that's the people that work on the Hytale concepts and doing the lore and writing mechanics. These people are now are frozen because we just got to know that Hytale will be releasing 2021. Which, although it gives us 1 more year to start thinking of the mechanics and conceiving the actual lore and everything way better than we would initially think, it goes very far, and we don't really want that. We would rather have a community based around the card game and later either move into Hytale or a standalone game, because Tenebra Studios is a game developer.
Mm-hmm. So, from what I understand, you're kind of leaning more towards the whole card game kind of feel. And so does that mean like, so you're leaning more towards the card game. Are you planning on having like more of a Hytale port later on, or are you definitely thinking you're going to rather just kind of focus on the card game and move along with the Hytale thing as you're going? Like, is Hytale still any kind of priority, or is it kind of taking a backseat for the card game?
So I come from the Minecraft community. I've been a mod maker myself from some other smaller mods and plugins. So I definitely want to support Hytale and Hypixel Studios for their effort on making a new game that's actually for us, for the mod makers and the plugin developers and the server owners. So it's kind of my priority. I want to have a Hytale server and Hytale game with Stolendale, other than being Stolendale or a different game. So I'm not just here to like, hey, let's play a card game, but I'm also here to support Hypixel because of their amazing work so far.
That's fair.
So yeah, I feel obligated to do something in Hytale, other than being Stolendale or something else.
Okay, so we can kind of expect developments on that, I can see, because it does make sense that you still have a lot of planning to do, considering we're about a little over a year out. So that makes plenty of sense. So with all that said, that's all the questions we had for you today. If there's anything else you would like to say, socials or anything like that, feel free to do so now.
Okay, great. So just follow us on Twitter. We update everything there at Stolendale, and you can also join our Discord channel, which is like description, right? Is it?
Yep, everything will be in the description.
Great! It's amazing. Awesome.
All right,
yeah, that's pretty much everything.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And of course, it's been a pleasure, Jim. We're glad to have had you with us. Make sure to follow Stolendale on Twitter. All their links will be in the description below, as I mentioned. Thank you for tuning into this week's podcast, and make sure you subscribe for more. This has been your host, Fezzy the Frog, and we'll see you next time.